text on the screen that I hope can be suitable for UK, Argentina, Russia, and Niger.
So it's basically what's in grey at the moment. There is our suggestion.
The suggestion is what is in gray. So we are also introducing a new color.
No more new colors.
Green and yellow are the colors of the Brazilian flag, but gray is not. India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is what we were fearing earlier when the suggestions were being made. My delegation's viewpoint is that the first part of the sentence should faithfully capture the periodicity that was agreed in the 7th and 8th review conference. In this formulation that the Secretariat has provided us, there is no reference to the fact that the information had to be given at least biannually, as was agreed in 7th and 8th review conference. So we would request that that point be factually provided in the first part of the sentence. Of course, the second part of the sentence does override that through another decision of the working group as a recommendation from the working group. But we do believe that the decisions taken by 7th and 8th review conferences and the periodicity that was contained should be faithfully reflected in the first part of the sentence. Thank you.
Any other comment? UK, Russia, Niger? Can you accept the paragraph as it is on the screen? Argentina too? Argentina, yes. UK? Yes. Germany?
This is a very good compromise. Sorry, thank you. We believe that this is a very good compromise, and we would be happy to accept that with the addition of the square brackets of...
You either accept a compromise because it's the same thing. I'm very flexible, but I accept the compromise is the compromise.
Find out that there, in the original language, there are still the square brackets with of the meeting of states parties.
Listen, once more, consensus, meeting of state parties, unilateral measures are not going to be discussed.
I wasn't going to discuss the issue. I was just going to point out that the square brackets are not yet reflected in the gray text, and that we would need to add that to the gray text because it's still in the text above.
It's the Secretariat fault, it's not mine. They're telling me that is reflected, that you didn't see. Russia, okay. Niger, okay. So, yeah, just Secretariat is going to reply to India. India.
Thank you, Chair, but I see the...
Indian and UK. Could you pay attention? He's going to explain to India.
Thanks, Ambassador, but they are probably discussing the same issue that I was just going to raise. But in terms of what the delegate from India said about the periodicity, as I said earlier, it's my understanding that despite the text, the 7th and 8th review conferences in the English versions, at least, using the word biannual, which means twice per year, what the intention back then actually was once every 2 years. And as I said, that was...
I mean, if I would like to ask India and UK to pay attention to what we are saying, because if we're saying something, you keep discussing between yourselves, there is no need for us to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, and I see the delegation. But what I was just trying to explain is that the intention, my understanding is that the intention back then was it would be once every 2 years. And certainly, as I said earlier, the practice has been by states parties ever since then. The states parties have submitted, those that have submitted have done it once every 2 years. We have never received this information from any state party twice per year. So I think it's basically an issue of the wrong word having been used back in 2011 when they said biannual, when I think the intention and certainly the practice since has always been biennial. So on that basis, if I'm correct in that, I don't think we need to actually, it's not a question of override or restating a position from 2011 and then having to override it. I think the decision, the intention in 2011 was always biennial. And that's the word that we should use here. And if it's, I think it was the Russian Federation that suggested earlier, maybe it is actually clearer rather than using the word biennial, which even in English people confuse. Anyway, biannual and biennial often get confused in English. As the Russian Federation suggested earlier, maybe it is just clearer to say at least every 2 years, I think was the proposal from the Russian Federation. Then it would be clear in English, and I assume it would be clearer in other languages as well. I haven't obviously consulted the other language texts, but they were probably based on the English language, the version negotiated during the 7th review conference, which, as I said, used the word biannual. But as far as I understand, the intention was, even then, was every 2 years rather than twice per year. Thank you.
Thank you, David. India, you on the floor?
Well, thank you, Daniel, for his explanation. But I just have, I just can't help myself but question the fact that we are basing this on an interpretation that you have about a decision that was taken not once but twice in the 7th review conference, and then it was further endorsed by the 8th review conference. So it is possible that you have a certain interpretation of it, but maybe some delegations really meant what they were doing then, and therefore that decision was again endorsed by another review conference. So the main issue that we have in front of us is that this would materially not change anything. What we are saying is that the recalling of the decisions of 7th and 8th review conferences should be done factually. And then, of course, the material change that we are bringing in the periodicity is also there, on which I think all of us can agree to and come to a consensus on. What my delegation is seeking is a reference to what was agreed as such by all the states during a review conference. And that should not change the material difference we are bringing to the periodicity of the reporting. So if this is not problematic for other delegations, we can at least bring this fact that the 7th and the 8th review conferences had endorsed that the periodicity of providing information would be biannual, and from biannual we are moving to a biennial basis. That is the whole point I'm saying. We are not against the decision that that we are taking right now, which is to reduce the periodicity of the reporting. Thank you.
UK, but my understanding is that we made a mistake and we should be repeating the mistake. Makes no sense to me. UK and Canada.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 points. I think one is that we sought to correct this mistake in the 9th review conference, but because the article-by-article review was dropped from the final outcome document, we did not do so. Secondly, the effect of what our Indian colleague is suggesting is that the records will show that we have decided to move from a practice of providing this information twice a year to providing that information once every 2 years. That's a very damaging message from my perspective, when actually we are simply continuing the practice that we have adopted since the 7th and 8th review conferences. That said, if this issue is of fundamental importance to our Indian colleague, I can live with keeping biannual in there. It is nonsensical to me.
Russia and then Canada.
Thank you very much, Chair. We would prefer to keep the language that was proposed by the Secretariat, because in the Russian language, in the documents of the 7th and 8th Review Conference, everything has been translated correctly, at least biannually. And in that respect, in order to correct that error, we would prefer to have some general reference to the decisions of the 7th and 8th Review Conferences, because if we try to quote everything in English, when we translate that into Russia, we would prefer to keep the translation that we had in the final documents of the 7th and 8th Review Conferences, meaning at least biannually. Thank you.
Thank you, Russia. Canada?
Thank you, Chair. Echoing a bit of the comment made by my UK colleague, I'm a little confused as to why we're being held up on this detail when we have the rest of the unagreed upon text to get to. First off, I just want to confirm, as an English-speaking country, that mix-up often does happen between biannually and biannually. I mean, especially in a format like this, where English is not the mother tongue of everyone. I think we would be even more prone to slight misinterpretations like that. And I think as well, context matters here. If the Secretariat is telling us that it was clearly the intention to mean biannually, and biannually was said instead, I think we should take that into consideration. I think that's part of the definition of being flexible here. Thank you.
Being flexible, but France, how is it in the French version?
Ambassador, I can tell.
Well, the Secretary is going to say, but I would like to hear from the other Chinese and Arab countries, what's their translation? The ICU.
Thank you, Ambassador. We've just been doing a quick bit of research from our side. In the French and Chinese versions, it refers, and I think I understood from the Russian Federation also in the Russian, it refers to biannually, so every 2 years. In the English and also apparently in the Spanish version, I think it refers to biannual, or in the Spanish version, I think it specifically says twice per year. So there is no, we haven't looked at the Arabic version yet either, but there is no, there's no unified interpretation even in the different official language versions either. So I think again, that shows you that there wasn't a, you know, a clear decision back then that it would be every 2 years, so biannual. And I think the majority of the different language translations do refer to, as the Russian Federation said, at least biannually. So every 2 years. As I said, the French and the Chinese versions specifically talk about every 2 years as well. Thank you.
So I would ask the Indian delegation to have some flexibility, and that I think we're spending too much time on that, but let's correct a mistake, because worse than having done a mistake is insisting on the mistake. India, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Secretariat, for providing the information. I think if that is indeed the case, where different languages have reflected it in different ways, we can be flexible in terms of whether we want to capture the periodicity But I do want to make a point that what may be nonsensical to some delegation may make sense to the other delegation. So there's a need for examination of all proposals and the ideas suggested by various delegations. And my delegation had a view that we should not make what is a decision taken by two review conferences, not by one, a matter of interpretation. And that would have for my delegation would have been damaging, because we reduce a decision taken by states parties not in one review conference but in two review conferences, a matter of interpretation, and that would have been more damaging for us. But we do take the point which the Secretariat has provided and what you have suggested to us, and we would be flexible in taking this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I would like just to recall, and I think this discussion is going too long, but I have the UA in Algeria that will put the inputs of the Arabic in a very short time. But just remember that this decision to which you refer, it's English. The decision in French, as we said, and which are also one of the 6 languages. So in Chinese, you got a different, so it's not a different interpretation. It's in different language, and the Chinese, if I'm mistaken, you correct me. But anyway, Emirates and Algeria, fast.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We find it would be better to maintain at least biannually. This is a better formulation if we were to rely on the previously agreed language in the 7th and 8th review conferences, where there was an encouragement for submitting the information at least biannually, and this formulation was part of further UN agreements.
Before I give the floor to Algeria, and again, this thing is going too long, but I have to tell you that you're taking the English as the right way. Russia, China, Spain, it's not a question that we're modifying a decision, because in Russia, you're not modifying anything. In French, you're not modifying anything. So let's be democratic. Most languages understand that that's every 2 years. China, Algeria, Tunisia, and China, and I close the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. Just to add to this, in Arabic version, and after we checked the final documents, it said once every 2 years. So the understanding shared by the ISU was correct in our, reflected correctly in Arabic version for this end, and to avoid confusion between English and other languages, we prefer to maintain the language proposed by the ISU as a way forward, so we could recall the decisions in a broader way regarding Article 10, and we could also continue by saying that state parties are encouraged to provide at least biannually appropriate information on how they implement Article 10. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shukran. As I think that everybody saw, there was a mistake on the English language. All the other 5 languages express every 2 years. Tunisia, and the discussion is closed.
Bonjour. En fait,
good morning. The use of this adverb, in order for it to be clear in every language, it's better to construct the sentence by saying once every 2 years.
2 years. So, le problème.
The problem is in the use of the adverbs biennially or biannually. So perhaps we just need to reword that sentence completely, and that would clarify matters. And I fully agree with you and the majority of those who spoke that what needs to be corrected is the error in order to avoid any interpretation errors. Thank you.
Yeah, but Shukran, but this does not solve the problem. because I think the point of India is that the 7th and 8th, they didn't say every 2 years, they say biannually. So what they want is to keep the wording of the 7th and 8th. China, and that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, concerning the issue of languages, we confirm what the Secretariat said is right biannually. Concerning the Indian delegates' concern, that is to say, in the report, we should reflect the decision of the previous two review conferences. Maybe we can use a formulation to resolve the issue. In the second line, states parties are for the third time, or states parties are again encouraged to provide.
Including the scope and nature of these activities, period. Such information will be provided to the ICA advisory group. I hope this could accommodate the concern of our India colleague. Thank you.
Can we take the Chinese proposal? So decided. Now let's go back to the ISU formulation, because what we have here, and now the discussion is closed. What we have here is that we have a mistake in correct in 5 languages and a mistake in 1 language, and we are not here to discuss things. But really, please.
Thank you, Chair, for giving the floor. And any floor does not mean that we are continuing the discussion regarding PARA. We are happy with the text, but we have a 2 editorial proposal. First is that the hierarchy of this draft decision could be the same as the draft decision for the SNT. Therefore, my delegation proposed to change this subparagraph order and the subparagraph D come before the C. I mean after the D. And also regarding the current subparagraph D, after the new proposal, recalling can be in separate paragraph to be more clear.
Just a second, I'm lost.
Yeah, from the recalling. Could be a new paragraph. Thank you, Chair.
Can we accept the Iranian proposal? Can we accept? Iran, I will make another proposal.
Chair, just explain my proposal that the subparagraph D come before the C. As a hierarchy of and the same formulation for this draft decision based on the draft decision for SNT to be in the same formulation and hierarchy. Thank you, Chair.
Can you repeat, please? Because we don't understand. Slowly.
Can I? Chair, thank you very much. Actually, I have 2 proposals. That first is that the subparagraph D could be split in two paragraphs, and the subparagraph D in this formulation could come before the subparagraph C. Based on the hierarchy and formulation of the draft decision for S&T could be the same as for the ICA decision, draft decision. Before C, yes. Thank you.
So, the Iranian proposal is on the screen. Can we accept the Iranian proposal? Any comments on the Iranian proposal? No objection, so it's decided. So let's move to paragraph 2. With a view to promoting the fullest and most effective implementation of international cooperation and assistance under Article 10, in compliance with the provisions of the Convention, the ICA mechanism shall. Any comments? Australia, you are close, but you're too far away.
Thank you, Chair. Look, for paragraph 2, we would like to seek the deletion of this language. We feel that the language in the rest of the text provides an adequate mandate and that this text is unnecessary. On A, we note that obstacles and opportunities language is already reflected in the previous paragraphs. We cannot accept language on obstacles and challenges without opportunities, language that has been agreed and reflected in earlier paragraphs, including paragraph 6 of Annex 1. Robust controls are vital non-proliferation measures, and we are concerned that this language infers that they are arbitrary obstacles rather than a legitimate method of upholding our BWC obligations. On B, we cannot accept language on denials. It is not appropriate for this mechanism to review a country's sovereign decisions, exercised to ensure appropriate safeguards against the proliferation of WMD. An approval system is not robust without the option to deny. Denials are contextual and focused on the end user rather than on the country itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other delegation on the Australian proposal to delete this paragraph? Cuba.
Thank you, Chair. We understand that here we are looking at Article 10 that deals with the peaceful uses related to international cooperation. So what we're talking about, that all the uses that are not allowed by the convention. So we should deny access to increased cooperation will undermine the convention. So what Australia is referring to, if I understand, referring to non-peaceful uses. So this is not what we see on the screen. We can study the proposal to include the opportunity, as in other reference, to have an comprehensive analysis of everything that may have an impact on compliance with Article 10 in terms of assistance and cooperations. We cannot forget the obstacle that prevents us from moving forward. To make an analysis, have a careful look on Article 10.
Any other delegation? USA and Niger.
Good morning, Chair. The United States concurs fully with the objections of the Australian delegation, and we would also request the full deletion of paragraph 2, including the subsections. Thank you.
Thank you. Niger, Canada, and Japan.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chairman. My delegation would like to keep paragraph 2, this chapeau, because it defines the mandate of the discussions which are to be held within the framework of the ICA mechanism. So this is an introductory paragraph here, which plays an important role in the definition of what we will do. And that is described in subparagraphs A and B. So with respect to paragraph 2, we would like to keep it as it stands. Thank you, Niger.
Japan and Spain.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation is not going to comment on the preamble paragraph 2 there or subparagraph A. We specifically have issues with subparagraph B, especially some of the language in it. To consider and assess denials as well as recommendations aimed at preventing such denials. I might be wrong here, but the last time I checked, the BWC is not an export control regime or a sovereign country that makes export decisions. So we don't see this within the purview of this convention, and we don't see that as being appropriate, as this being an appropriate forum for these sorts of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Japan and Spain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, this paragraph is not necessary in the context of BWC, and it should be entirely deleted. I thank you.
Arigato. Spain.
Thank you very much, Chair. Would like to align ourselves with the proposal made by Australia, especially as Canada says this is not the appropriate environment for the convention.
I cannot see from here. Venezuela?
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll be very brief. Venezuela believes that it is important, if not crucial, to preserve this paragraph to guarantee the full and effective implementation of Article 10. Thank you.
Gracias a usted. Netherlands.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to briefly take the floor to express our support for the proposal by Canada to delete just 2B of this paragraph. Thank you.
You keep 2A?
Yeah, we could live with 2A. Thank you.
Okay. Togo, where are you? Oh, go.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as previous speakers, in particular in Niger and Venezuela, we are also of the view that this paragraph is fundamental in terms of the implementation of Article 10, and therefore we would like to have it kept as it stands.
Any other comment? Belarus.
Thank you, Chairman. Belarus is also in favor of keeping the wording of this paragraph. It's an important one, and it identifies, and with respect to the goals of the BWC, this does not contradict the sovereign rights of states, but if there are any doubts with regard to the full implementation of the BWC, then this in fact relates to the responsibilities of that body. Thank you.
Iran.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding this para and its subparagraph, my delegation support those delegations that's to keep this para in the text, which is fully compliant with the written letter of this draft final report of the working group. My delegation is of the view that based on the language and decision of the ninth review conference, implementation of the Article 10 should be full, effective, and non-discriminatory. Therefore, any discussion and any mechanism regarding the ICA or Article 10 without consideration and assessment of denials in transfer of equipment, materials, and technology for peaceful purposes would not be full and effective. Therefore, my delegation support to keep such language, and we propose to be more strengthened and more promoted language on this area, which is one of the key area that is very important for many delegations, including mine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comment? So I would ask Australia, Netherlands, and Cuba to sit down and bring something to me in the afternoon. Thank you. So let's move to paragraph 4. Oh no, let's try to finish with paragraph 3. We have during, before, or after. I think it's if my British colleagues can help me, because before or after, I mean, before or after cannot be another choice, no? I think the British language does not leave any other option. Also, the other 5 languages, it's before or after. But anyway, I would like to hear delegations on having during, before, or after. Oh, I'm just being reminded that this has to do with the MSP, so forget it. So, 4. Except the mention to meeting of state parties, can we accept paragraph 4? Comments? Any comment? So I understand that the question, if it's the meeting of state parties or who we're going to decide later, I take that we can agree that whoever we decided later will be responsible for taking necessary actions with respect to budgetary, financial, and organization matters with a view to ensuring the proper and effective operation of the ICA mechanism during the intersessional period. Can we take this, can we green this phrase? So decided. It's going better than I thought. So let's move to Appendix 2, paragraph 4. Russia.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. Before we turn to Annex 2, Appendix 2, we would like to ask you to come back to paragraph 8 of the draft decision on the mechanism on cooperation and assistance. We know.
First.
Я могу продолжить?
May I continue?
No, just a second. This is the decides that each review conference. No, I'm not talking about green. I'm not going to open green text. Yes.
Я понимаю, уважаемый господин председатель.
I understand, distinguished chair, but we have our national position and we'd like to work a bit more on paragraph 8 because, as we have said on numerous occasions yesterday, nothing is agreed until everything is agreed.
Agreed until everything is agreed, but I also said that I'm not touching on green text. And every country has a position here. If I'm going to open green text, which I will not control the room. So I'm sorry. If it's on 8th, let's move. I'm not going to discuss it. Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Distinguished chair. Nevertheless, we would like to use our right as a state party to make some proposal on paragraph 8.
Not accept. No, I'm not accept. You don't insist. I'm not going to open green text. You have your national position. I have my national position. They have their national position. And I will not open green text. So in December, you can open it. Not now. Or you could sit in this chair and do it. But let's move. If you're asking for paragraph 8, please refrain from talking. Is it on paragraph 8? No, let's move. Let's go to page 18, contributions and sources of funding. The ICA fund is a trust fund that will receive voluntary contributions from state parties, bracket, and other donors, including United Nations, specialized agencies, multilateral and regional organizations, intergovernmental organizations, foundations, academia, non-government organizations, for-profit entities. Comments on this paragraph? Germany and Niger.
Thank you, Chair. Since you've asked for comment on the part you've just read out for us, this could be text in green. Thank you.
The paragraph 4. We can green paragraph 4 for your delegation. Can you repeat, please? It's a mic.
Sorry. The part you have read out now, I heard that this part ended after for-profit entities, as it is seen on the screen, and this entire part could be green for us. Thank you, Chair.
Dankeschön. Niger, USA, and Russia.
Thank you, Chair. Likewise, my delegation is ready to move the text to green, the part you just read out. Thank you.
Thank you, Niger, USA, and Russia.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, the United States objects to all the bracketed language regarding organizations other than states parties. However, we are perfectly fine with the final bracketed portion. All states parties are encouraged to contribute to the trust fund while taking into account their respective capacities. Thank you.
Thank you, Russia.
Distinguished Chair, on paragraph 4, we would like to say that we are ready to accept the paragraph as currently presented, but on record, we'd like to say that we'll be making proposals to paragraph 8 of the draft decision. We are ready to provide them in writing, and we'll be ready to voice them in December, but that part will require further discussions. Thank you.
Okay. Can we green? No. DRC and Ireland.
Monsieur le Président, pour
Thank you, Chair, for giving us the floor. My delegation agrees with paragraph 4, but would like to make some small clarifications related to other donors. What are the criteria for these other donors if they're not states parties, and whether they are part of accredited organizations?
Well, I understand that other donors we cannot list because I don't know. Maybe I decided to next year to make a donation if I win the Swiss lottery. But so it's but we have this, let's say, protection when we say that state parties should approve the other donors. So, but the list, would be all universities all over the world, or foundations, or UN agencies. You make a list, and then, but they have to be approved by the state parties. Ireland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We're in favor of quickly establishing a mechanism that is effective and sustainable. And for this, we believe it's important to allow for a diverse set of donors to contribute to the pot, particularly during this period of broader funding constraints. So for that reason, we support the bracketed language in the first part of the text. And as you said, in the second part, we do have a safeguard there. So we think that this is a good package proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Netherlands and Panama. Oh, we are here.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to express the Netherlands' support for the intervention of Ireland just now. We would also prefer to keep the first bracketed sentence in this paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Panama.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. My delegation would like to use this opportunity to express our support what was said by other delegations speaking before us, including Ireland. Our preference is to place in green the part related to other donors, and I believe that the paragraph also provides the necessary safeguards, and this will provide consistency with other paragraphs that have already been agreed, like paragraph 6, where we asked support from states parties and other donors. So we accepted that paragraph, so we do not see why we cannot accept this here. Thank you.
Freedom and Côte d'Ivoire.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Two things. I will also support the green lighting, the first part that we'll be discussing, the bracketed part. And secondly, I do wish you win the lottery. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. That would be a good thing. Côte d'Ivoire.
Président, la Côte.
Thank you, Chair. Well, calling delegations for flexibility. We support this paragraph. We believe that through silence procedure, it guarantees that states have the last word in terms of possibilities for funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As my colleagues were served as friend of the chair on the ICA language and have way more expertise than I could have ever hoped to in terms of international cooperation and assistance funding. I know their position is very strong on this, that this fund absolutely must be open to entities other than states parties. Otherwise, we will not have a functional international cooperation and assistance fund. We would be amenable to slightly altering the language in the first two sets of brackets if absolutely necessary for agreement. However, the deletion, any proposed deletion of any references to any donors other than states parties is completely unacceptable to us. Thank you.
Okay. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia supports the fund receiving donations from donors more broadly than states parties. A broad donor basis would ensure that the ICA fund is sustainable, predictable, and able to support practical cooperation and assistance activities. We want the fund to be successful, and we think this is an important aspect of that. And we also note that it is standard practice in other trust funds established by conventions. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Any other comment? Oh, Indonesia and La France.
Thank you, Chair. In principle, our delegation support a broad piece of donor sources, so therefore we can support the wordings on the first part of paragraph 4. Thank you very much.
Thank you. La France and Norway.
Thank you, Chair. As said yesterday by my delegation, and in terms of our compres, we are ready to end the first phrase and other donors, but we, as I would like to say, we support the entire sentence that is now in square brackets and other textual elements that will not deprive us or will allow us to have access to different funding that comes from organizations that are ready to support the fund. Thank you.
Norway and Philippines.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation supports the text that would allow other entities than states parties to contribute to the fund, which we believe is key for its future success. Thank you.
Thank you. Philippines, Austria, and Emirates.
Thank you, Chair. Our delegation supports the putting the first part of this paragraph in green. We believe that the ICA fund should cast a wider net so as to ensure the sustainability of the fund, and that is important for us as a developing country. Thank you.
Thank you. Austria, Emirates, Italy, and Thailand.
Thank you, Chair. We want to add our support to the retention of the first bracketed part of the paragraph, as others have mentioned, to retain a functional and predictable fund. And we believe that the lower part of the paragraph does grant the flexibility that is necessary to still assess contributions. So there's really little argument to that goes against the first part of the paragraph. So we do also add our voice to those who support its retention. Thank you.
Thank you. Emirates, Italy, and Thailand.
نؤيد تحويل الفقرة الأولى بالأصفر إلى اللون الأخضر كما أن الجزء الخاص ب
We support paragraph making it green. As far as other donors are concerned, that will be decided by other states parties. and the acceptance of any financial contributions should be conditioned by an agreement by other states parties. And as far as the last sentence is concerned, it is important because it provides additional support for the financial contributions by states party.
Shukran. Italy, Thailand, and Gambia.
Thank you, Chair. As already expressed by many of the delegations before us, we believe that the mechanism should retain the greatest possible flexibility in terms of funding resources. Any limitation regarding the origin of funds risks weakening this assistance and cooperation mechanism and ultimately reducing its ability to respond effectively to the actual needs of states parties. We would therefore favor an inclusive and flexible approach that allows the mechanism to mobilize all available resources in support of its objectives. I thank you, Chair.
Grazie. Thailand and Gambia.
Thank you, Chair. We support the diversity and sustainability of the fund, and we see that the part of this paragraph that asks for approval by state parties through a written silence procedures already provide some flexibility and compromise for others like size. So that's why we wish to support and all the paragraph as drafted. Thank you.
Thank you. Gambia.
Gambia is pleased to join consensus on the retention of the funding sources. We believe that the diversity of funding sources is really imperative for the sustainability and the adequacy of the fund. And for that reason, we would really join consensus and retaining it. Of course, we are happy with the guardrails that have been captured in the second part of the paragraph in terms of ensuring that all other funding sources are subject to approval by states parties. We believe that is an important and a necessary guardrail. Thank you.
I would love to have consensus, but there is one delegation that does not join the consensus. Togo in Pakistan.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 4. We find that we can accept paragraph 4 and we can ensure the sustainability of the financial mechanism. Thank you.
Pakistan, Algeria, and Colombia.
Thank you, Chair. We add our voices on the plurality of the funds and the language to be retained, and we also wish that you win a lottery. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Algeria and Colombia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We also join other delegation on the necessity to maintain the first bracketed sentence to ensure the diversity of the funding, as well as the second bracketed sentence ensuring the acceptance of state parties of those funding, so to ensure that this process could be continue to be state-led. So we also accept the paragraph as it is drafted by you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shukran. Colombia.
Gracias.
Thank you, Chair. Colombia supports the paragraph and have a fund that involves the greatest number of actors that will help us with resources. Thank you.
Any other delegation? Mauritius.
Thank you, Chair. We would also like to join a consensus with the whole text being in green. However, we would like to point out that while we are listing all the organizations, we're missing, some, for example, cover the non-for-profit. And also you're missing, for example, banks. Regional and multinational banks. Thank you.
Well, the list, that's why we say other donors, because if we can make the list would be enterprises, so rich people, billionaires. So that's what we use other donors to, not to have. But you have a point. But anyhow, there, I cannot read from here. Peru.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, my delegation would like to also join those who expressed their support to the text in yellow and place the first sentences in green. And we do hope that this paragraph will enjoy consensus soon.
Any other? Into it. Say to sit down and give me some language in the afternoon. Okay? Thank you. Russia.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. In light of the fact that one delegation is not happy with this paragraph, the way it was presented by yourself, we would like to find out why, the reasons. We would like to better understand the logic why the delegation is against, in order to quickly try to find a compromise. Our delegation simply doesn't understand the logic. Thank you.
USA, do you want to reply to Russia, or do you prefer to do the bilateral, the meeting with Canada? So USA?
Chair, for the moment, the United States will happily sit down with Canada and discuss this offline, but I think for the moment we just have some concerns about external pressure flowing from non-state related sources of funding. For a body that is usually suspect of corporations, I find it interesting that everyone here is thrilled to have multi-billion-dollar corporations fund this effort. It creates massive conflicts of interest for this body and the globe. But we'll sit down with Canada and we'll probably come up with some language that'll be satisfactory to the chair. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go with Canada and find language. I have Niger.
Chair, I was going to ask the same question as Russia, but now having listened to the USA, Chair, we have an overwhelming majority in this room that is ready to move to consensus. Many delegations have highlighted that there is a safeguard in the second part of this paragraph. Not only that, Chair, we only have the part that is in green, which says that this fund will serve the purposes set forth in para 1, 2, 3 above. So meaning to support the implementation of the international cooperation and assistance mechanism. Furthermore, everything will be done in accordance with the financial regulations and rules of the UN. So we believe that this covers, in our understanding, the concern just raised by the US delegation. You may wish to check again with the US delegation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So let's close the discussion. And Canada and USA, you come up in the afternoon with some language for me, please. So let's go to page 21, paragraph 10. All state parties that are not already represented on the ICA steering group may observe the meetings of the ICA steering group with the right to speak and make written submissions. Some comments? Russia.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. we are in favor of deleting this paragraph and the alternative language because we do not see any logic behind this language. We have an open-ended structure. We do not need to have a structure that is not open-ended to all participants or other donors because this may look like buying seats in the steering group. So all those who would like to wish to express their views, mostly state parties, they'll be able to do that in an open-ended structure and present their views there. Any closed structure will work for 4 days. It has its own tasks, but then it will be presented to an open-ended structure that at least questions will be considered there. Thank you.
Спасибо. Any other comment? Turkey?
Thank you, Chair. As I promised in the informal discussion we had on this paragraph to get back to you, I'm taking the floor to also convey this in the formal setting, our position on this paragraph. We believe the alternative solution that was proposed by the South African delegation during the informals, which is reflected in 10A bis and 10B bis, addresses the issues and concerns raised by other delegations in the informals about how to go about having so many observers in the room speaking. So splitting the states and other donors into two would, we believe, address this problem. But just a caveat, we're happy with this formulation as long as we keep the silence procedure in paragraph 4, which we were discussing earlier today, because it's directly linked to how we allow other donors to participate in a mainly state-driven body. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Korea?
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. I concur with our Russian delegates that the whole purpose of setting up this body with the hybrid format with the small body and the bigger body is defeated through this paragraph. So we oppose and we suggest deleting all paragraph relating to this paragraph 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other comment? I cannot see. I see two, Panama and the other one, Comor. Samoa, sorry. Samoa and then Panama.
Thank you, Chair. We do wish to support, fully agree with the Chair's point as provided in the text. As we all know, small states do not have the capacity to contribute as much, nor the human resources to be fully committed to being an ICA steering group member. Hence, there should be flexibility in allowing for their participation, especially in regards to discussions over the ICA fund and projects they may have submitted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Panama.
Thank you, Chair. On this paragraph, we understand the points that were mentioned by the distinguished delegation of the Russian Federation and the Republic of Korea. In other words, in other examples in the Arms Trade Treaty, a limited composition group only includes only members of that relevant selection committee. But in order to be flexible and take into account the concerns that were raised during informal consultations, my delegation would be able to support the compromise version that was presented by South Africa.
Is South Africa on the room? No? Oh. Yeah. Côte d'Ivoire. Sweden and then Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for Côte d'Ivoire if I cut the microphone before him. I would like to support the Korean comments. Originally, we were in favor of the very first draft of the chair, where there was a percentage point in order to give incentives for donors to this funding mechanism, because we believe that would be helpful for it to have a sustainable amount of funds that we could draw upon. I'm hearing that way forward might not be possible, but the whole point of the ICA steering group is that it's be small and sufficient and effective, and all member states can apply to be part of the steering group, irrespective if they have provided any funding whatsoever. It's the steering group will consist of a quota of states that makes it representative of the entire globe, basically. So that's why I will concur with my Korean colleague that the suggestion on the screen is not helpful, and that we should revert back to a steering group that only consists of those, I think there was originally 20 members selected amongst member states. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le.
Thank you, Chairman. For the same reason quoted by other speakers, we believe paragraph 10 should be deleted. Thank you.
Ahora sí. Gracias, Presidente.
Yes, now it works. Thank you, Chair. We can support the proposal made by South Africa in terms of the participation of other states in the discussions of the group and written contributions. This could be a compromise in terms of 10b bis. Thank you.
Thank you. Emirates.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن نفضل الخيار الثاني.
Thank you, Chairman. We prefer the second option. That is to say, to have two paragraphs, 10A and 10B, not the first paragraph. Since this group is one set up by member states or states parties, and it includes them in line with the previous decisions, we talked about 20 states parties with an equitable geographical representation. So that is the proposal that we support with the members funding the fund. Thank you.
Any other delegation? Belarus.
Thank you, Chairman. Belarus supports Russia, Sweden, and Korea in their positions. This body needs to be an effective one and should be less dependent on outside factors. Thank you.
Спасибо. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We're not in a position to support these paragraphs. I think Korea and Sweden both set out the rationale well. The steering group is responsible for the program management of the ICA fund, and it has deliberately been created as a small group of 25 members to enable it to carry out these functions efficiently. That membership is open to any state party, and we support it having broad geographical representation. However, we are concerned that these paragraphs open up these meetings to all states parties to participate in, and that will result in inefficient meetings that can delve into political issues, which is not the focus of this group. We recognise the importance of transparency and inclusivity in how money from the ICA fund is allocated. This is why we have established the ICA Advisory Group as a forum for all states parties to oversee the operation of both the steering group and the trust fund. We should not replicate this group within the steering group. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Any other delegation? Canada.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to endorse the sentiments proposed by my Australian colleague. Thank you.
Any other? Can we delete this paragraph? Is there any delegation that has hard feelings not to delete La France?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je prends...
Thank you, Chairman. I'm only taking the floor now because you had expressed the wish to hear delegations who were against any of the elements in the text here. My delegation, for the time being, is not in a position to approve of the deletion of this paragraph, and I'm talking about the first. I had already stated this in a previous meeting in December. States, parties, and other donors would not have any decision-making power here. The idea is mainly to observe, to attend these meetings, and to be able to speak, to make comments, but they would have no decision-making power. And so I don't see how the presence of other stakeholders could have an impact on the modalities and the operations of these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? You see, as we mentioned on the last informal, in this paragraph and in some other paragraphs, I think there is a big confusion between what you have to say and money. You see, I do agree with some delegations that this is becoming like I pay, I go. And the steering committee, as has been mentioned by other delegations, it's not a political thing. It's not a, it's not a, if you have some contribution, intellectual contribution, scientific contribution, technical contribution, but this is not the case of this steering group. So we can have to make a distinction. It's not because you pay, you go. La France, 2 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps as a compromise, in the first paragraph, so paragraph 10, we could delete the reference to speak and delete that, which perhaps could restrict or lift any ambiguities in the discussion and would allow to have exchanges exclusively between members of the steering group and have observer participants only who can make written submissions only. And perhaps that would make the meetings simpler.
Merci, La France. Any delegation reacts to what France saying to delete, to speak? Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We think we could support that compromise. It would allow states and other donors to put their position forward and observe a meeting without creating the risk that the steering group is unable to carry out its decisions and discussions efficiently. I would suggest maybe a simpler way to achieve that would just be retaining 10b bis, but adding in any other states' parties, so that it reads any other states' parties or other donors may observe the meeting of the ICA steering group with the right to make written submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I give the floor to Rush, I repeat what I said before, because you say any other donor may observe the meetings of the ICA group. So suppose that a donor has some contribution to make, but doesn't have money. You see, so I think there is as I said here, and there is some other parts of the document that there is a big confusion between I pay, I go. Russia.
Thank you, Chairman. We fully support the rationale that you've just expressed, alongside all other considerations. The proposals of other delegations do not, in fact, meet the concerns that we had expressed, because we do not understand why this kind of provision should be introduced, where essentially the actions of an open structure would be replaced. And the question rises as to the need for such a structure, since all states, parties, or donors would be present within it, even if it's of a limited composition, and can present their views. So we are still of the view that these paragraphs should be removed. They are superfluous. We have an open group where all of these same written submissions could be presented by all those states who would like to do so. Thank you.
Spasiba. Any other comment? Belarus. You have 2 minutes.
I would like to support the comments and explanation of the Russian Federation. We should, moreover, understand that the open group is specifically created to be effective, and the influence of the closed group onto the open group can take place not only within their bodies, but the closed group is protected from that. Thank you.
Spasiba. Any comment? La France.
Monsieur le Président, mes excuses.
Mr. Chairman, I do apologize for coming back a third time on this topic. I understand that this is an issue where we have divergences in views, and I would propose that we might discuss these issues in the view of the previous paragraph. The topics are fairly similar, and we would be prepared to hold an exchange with all states parties in the room here to find a compromise which would cover the entirety of the financial participation and the right to observe held by donors.
I would ask France and Sweden to sit down and give me a proposition. But I insist that I have some resistance to this donor word, because the majority of the members of the convention are not rich countries. And so maybe some body lost in the middle of the Amazon forest in Brazil have some contribution, but does not have the money. So he's not allowed. So I think it is not the purpose of this convention to put a money barrier. So I would ask France and Sweden if you can sit down, come with a proposal in the afternoon. But my suggestion is that the word donor should not be included. But you sit down and you discuss between yourselves. Thank you. India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We tend to agree with your views as well as the views expressed by the Russian delegation and also by Australia in keeping this steering group very nimble and efficient. And we've also listened to views expressed by our French colleague. Our view is that other donors outside states parties should also be incentivized to participate in the discussions of the ICA mechanism. In that way, we can encourage them to contribute to the ICA mechanism, and also in the sense of promoting ownership of these donor entities, which are not just states but outside states. And in order to do that, we believe that the paragraph 10b bis, instead of allowing other donors to observe the meetings of ICA steering group, we can make them observe the meetings of the ICA advisory group, because insofar as the text is at this moment, the ICA advisory group is only open to states parties and it's not open to the non-governmental entities who would also have an interest in participating in these discussions. So one way of settling this, of course, we are waiting. We are, of course, pinning our hopes on France and Sweden to get us through on this paragraph. But our suggestion would be that we could permit other donors, such as NGOs and other entities, to contribute and also participate in the meetings of the ICA advisory group, and not the meetings of ICA steering group, which we want to keep them nimble and efficient, and so that they can efficiently arrive at their decisions. So that would be the proposal from our end. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you come with a suggestion? Written suggestion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can work with the delegation of France and Sweden to arrive at some understanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On page 22, we have paragraph 18. The rules of procedure of the review conference will be applicable mutatis mutandis to the ICA steering group. The ICA steering group will make every effort to take its decisions by consensus. Well, this goes to consensus. And once there is no consensus on consensus, so we have to skip this one. Let's go to page 24, paragraph 9. Further decides that the review conference will review the work of the S&T advisory mechanism, this decision and its appendices, and decided on the renewal of its mandate, including to access the functioning of the S&T advisory mechanism, and decide on any changes necessary. to this decision the terms of reference and regulations of S&T advisory mechanism to improve its effectiveness and efficiency. Comments on this paragraph, not discussing the consensus thing. Panama.
Thank you, Chair. On paragraph 9, my delegation is ready to turn the yellow into green. Thank you.
Gracias. Can we agree with Panama and change Russia?
Chairman, we support the wording which we have in the second pair of brackets as the one in the first set of brackets. We believe that the second set of brackets are clearer on this point and would allow us to avoid any diverging interpretations in the future. And we believe that similarly, we would need to some extent, correct paragraph 8 in the light of paragraph 10, and that's why we raised this issue. With respect to Panama's point, we would be prepared to switch the yellow to green when we do so in paragraph 16, for example, of Appendix 1. Thank you.
Annex 1.
Can we green what's in yellow on paragraph 16, Annex 1? USA.
Thank you, Chair. We're not prepared to green the yellow in paragraph 16 at this time. Thank you.
I hope you do before December. Russia? No, you didn't ask. They said you, Russia. UK?
Thank you, Chair. Just to set out the UK's position on this paragraph as a whole, if we were prepared to remove the words by consensus within square brackets, and we judge that is superfluous because the review conference will decide in line with its rules of procedure, we don't need to negotiate that now. If we could delete that phrase, we could turn the entire paragraph green.
Yeah, but I guess the USA does not want. US?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for coming in again. I just wanted to clarify our position. We support the UK's suggestion on this paragraph 9. However, we're not prepared on the previous paragraph 16 that was on the screen when I spoke last. Thank you.
Yeah, and the Russia says that if not approved the 16, you cannot approve 9. So I hope delegations can be ready to green the text until December. Although yesterday, as I said, we start at 10 and finish at 1, I have a lunch on our colleague Alonso from Mexico is leaving, and I have a lunch at 1. So let's close the meeting, and let's, so those delegations that I asked them to do some work to bring me in the afternoon, I think you can join this 30 minutes to come with a solution for me, okay? And the meeting is adjourned.
Just before you all leave the room, could I just briefly announce the side events that will be taking place during the regular lunch hour, so from 1 o'clock. In room 8, there is a side event entitled Disinformation as a Threat to the BWC, hosted by the Government of Canada and the Global Partnership Counter WMD Disinformation Initiative. And in room 9, there is a side event entitled Mirror Biology Explained, Technical Briefing and BWC Considerations, which is hosted by Panama, Peru, and the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Have a good lunch.